Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the graduation ceremony of Specialized Undergraduate Pilot Training Class 2214 AU. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Chakowski, Commander, 8th Flying Training Squadron, training students in the T-6 Texan II.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Michael Kissinger, Commander of the 33rd Flying Training Squadron, training students in the mighty T-6.
Today's ceremony is a once-in-a-lifetime event. As such, we encourage you to come forward and take pictures or videos when your loved one is presented an award or their wings. For your planning purposes, the wings are presented by rank, then alphabetical order.
Please stand for the entrance of the platform party and remain standing for the national anthem of the United States, followed by the invocation given by Chaplain King.
If you're so inclined, would you join me for a word of prayer? Almighty God, we come to you today with deep gratitude in our hearts for all the gifts that you give us each day. We're thankful for this nation in which we're privileged to live, for the freedoms we enjoy. And what an honor to call upon you now on behalf of UPT Class 2214 AU. Oh Lord, grant your blessings to this class for protection, for health, and for excellence in all things. Guard and guide the men and women who fly through the great spaces of the sky. Support these pilots and their families that through their efforts, freedom might prevail, allowing men and women everywhere to declare your glory and peace. Finally, I implore your blessings for the men and women of the 71st Flying Training Wing as we continue to deliver world-class pilots to defend our nation. Encourage and guide each of us and keep us always in your hands. For it's in your holy name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain King, for the invocation. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Today, 27 officers will receive their wings. On behalf of Colonel Jay Johnson, I would like to welcome the families and friends of Class 2214, as well as several members of Team Vance, including squadron commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, spouses, and our ASRC and Amendum contractors.
We are honored to have the following guests from our wing leadership here to support Class 2214 AU. The Mayor, City of Enid, the Honorable George Pankinen, and his wife, Melody. Representing Senator Inhofe from Oklahoma, Mr. Ryan Sproul. The spouse of the commander, 71st Flying Training Wing, Mrs. Kristen Johnson. Honorary Commander for the 71st Flying Training Wing, Mrs. Jennifer Baumann. The Command Chief, 71st Flying Training Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Brandon Smith, his wife Jessica, and his guest, Airman of the Month, Airman First Class T. Ann Grandison from the Comptroller Squadron. The Commander, 71st Operations Group, Colonel Joel Pauls, and his wife Yana. The Senior Enlisted Leader, 71st Operations Group, Chief Master Sergeant David Brown. The Commander, 71st Mission Support Group, Colonel Miller, and his wife Michelle. The Senior Enlisted Leader, 71st Mission Support Group, Chief Master Sergeant Zachary Pate. The Commander, 71st Medical Group, Colonel Richard Speakman, and his daughter Katie. The Senior Enlisted Leader, 71st Medical Group, Chief Master Sergeant Michael Jones. The Director of Maintenance, 71st Flying Training Wing, Dr. Sherry Teague. Representing the River Rats, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Bill Shortfinger. Additionally, we are honored to have the following distinguished visitor as special guests of Class 2214 AU. Please stand or wave your hand to be recognized. Colonel Chris Paff, United States Army retired, and his wife, Indiana State Representative Tanya Paff.
We would also like to give a warm welcome to our guest speaker, General Mike Minahan, and the commander of the 71st Flying Training Wing, Colonel Jay Johnson. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Johnson.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to welcome you to Vance Air Force Base and a place we like to call Enid, America. Today is an incredible day in the lives of these 27 new aviators, and I'm honored to be here to recognize undergraduate piloting training class 2214. I fully realize many of you didn't start in 2214. You're a mixture of many different classes. That is the nature of pilot training these days, but you'll always be class 2214. I'll talk about that here in a minute. Mayor Pankinen, Melody, thanks so much for being here. If you don't know, Mayor Pankinen, retired Air Force Major. He runs the retiree activities office here on base as well, heavily involved in everything we do here on base. They're great Americans. We couldn't do what we do without them. So Melody, Mayor, thanks for being here today. Truly appreciate you. And if you didn't know it, they're sitting right next to an American hero. So Lieutenant Colonel Bill Shortfinger here with us today, lives just over the border in Kansas, comes to every event here, POW from Vietnam, a true American hero. So Shortfinger, thanks for being here today. Appreciate you. Ryan, great to see you as always. We appreciate you being here, my friend. Looking forward to having lunch with you today. To my fellow wing leaders, group, squadron commanders, chiefs, to our government civilians, our contract partners, and all of our teammates here at Vance, welcome to today's ceremony. This day is not possible without the efforts that you put forward every single day, and we appreciate you. I'd also like to welcome our distinguished visitors here today. In our presence are members from several branches of the United States military that I see out there. Whether you're active guard, reserve, or retired, you and those that have served before you have paved the way for us to be here today, and I think that those folks deserve a special round of applause to our veterans. All right, so my favorite group of folks out there, so that's our spouses, our fiancés, those that want to be fiancés. So every time, gets a laugh every time because it's true. It's true, every class. Moms, dads, grandparents, brothers, sisters, extended family members and friends of Class 2214, thank you for being here today. You've provided our graduates with the foundation that they need, the moral compass, the necessary work ethic that it takes to get through what is still the hardest thing that I have done in my life, folks. And so thank you for being here with us today. So by way of introduction, Vance Air Force Base is one of 4 bases of the United States Air Force whose primary mission is to conduct undergraduate pilot training. In my unbiased opinion, we are also the best in the world at doing that. We prepare and deliver highly qualified aviators to follow on training in a variety of aircraft, not only for the United States, but also for our partner nations as well. In executing that mission, Vance Air Force Base has delivered over 35,000 pilots since 1941, including such notables as General Richard Myers, the 15th Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the former Air Force Chief of Staff, General Ronald Fogelman, and the first female to command a space shuttle mission, Colonel Eileen Collins. So Class 2214, I tell you this because make no mistake, you're walking on sacred ground. Air Force heroes have walked the flight rooms that you've walked and learned to fly in airplanes with Victor November on the tail flash, and I have no doubt that you'll follow in their footsteps and make us all Vance proud. So 2214 of the seats next to you are fellow airmen with whom you share a special bond. So whether it's academics, initial solo in the dunk tank, track select, or soon to be assignment night, although you'll go in different ways from here, what I promise you is the memories that you made will only get better with time. So that's a special bond and one that'll stay with you for the rest of your life. So here we are. You're about to earn your wings, but I'm going to ask you this. Please remember, wearing them is not a right. It's a privilege. And it's a privilege given and taken by those that have preceded you, and a privilege which you soon will be empowered to extend to those that follow you. It takes a total team effort to get you guys to these seats today. And the collective effort that it took 2214 to get you guys here is about 3,000 people that show up every day here on base. And we pour a ton of resources into these young men and women. If I told you that we have spent $1 million just to get them to these seats, I'd be on the low side. And we're just getting started. They're a year plus away from being mission ready in whatever mission weapon system they go to. So, but it's not the money. It's not necessarily the resources. It's the people that help you get here. And amongst those people are three groups that I'd like to quickly single out for recognition. Although they are the least represented here in this room today, is our instructor pilots. These men and women have molded our graduates into professional aviators, and they deserve special thanks. The reason that very few IPs are in here today is because they're in the skies above you right now. They're in the simulators right now. They're in the classrooms right now as 2215 and then 2301 and 2302 get ready to graduate and follow in your footsteps. So please, a round of applause for our instructor pilots. The second group is our amazing team of professionals who maintain our aircraft. Pilots break them and maintainers fix them. And you guys are really good at breaking airplanes. Not one of you can look at me and say you didn't break an airplane while you're here, because I know you did. They're an incredible team of government civilians and contractors who are every bit an airman as those of us that wear the uniform. We could not execute our mission without Dr. Sherry Teague and her quality team, and Mr. Peter Schneider and the Amentum team that ensure our fleet of over 200 aircraft are ready to go every single day. So a round of applause for our maintainers, please. Third and final are that amazing group of folks that make up our support and medical corps. So whether it's COPS, finance, services, MPF, dental, just to name a few, the wings that we're about to hand you don't happen unless they show up and do their job every day to make sure you can focus on becoming an Air Force aviator. So a round of applause for our support personnel, please. All right, I'm almost done. I'll get off stage. I know you want to hear from the general, not me. So lastly, though, I'd like to share two questions that are going to stay with you as long as you wear Air Force wings. When two aviators meet, I don't care where it is, right? You're going to get asked two questions. The first one is, where'd you go to pilot training? And the second one is, what class were you in? I guarantee that is going to happen, right? And so when you get asked those questions, your class 2214, you went to Vance Air Force Base, it does not get any more credible than that. So you say it loud and you say it proud when you get asked that question. Congratulations and welcome to the Long Blue Line. Ladies and gentlemen, my honor and my privilege to introduce our guest speaker, General Mike Minahan. General Minahan is the commander of Air Mobility Command, which serves as the United States Transportation Command's air component. They execute a worldwide air mobility mission in support of joint forces, allies, and partners. The command includes nearly 107,000 total force airmen operating over 1,100 aircraft from more than 100 locations worldwide. General Minahan is a graduate of the ROTC program at Auburn University. He conquered undergraduate pilot training at the second.
There's a Bama person in here, bring it right.
Oh boy, oh boy, here we go. Here you go. Yeah, we're in OU OSU territory here too, boss. Yeah. General Minahan conquered pilot training at the second best pilot training base in the United States Air Force, Columbus Air Force Base. He's a command pilot with more than 3,400 hours in the C-130, KC-10, and C-32. Ladies and gentlemen, General Mike Minahan.
I mentally drowned out all those other war cries just for the record. What a treat, especially, I think, appropriate and powerful message is the leadership from both the community and the wing lined up in echelon here to honor you all. I mean, you are the product of their efforts. It's incredibly powerful, and I'm appreciative of it. It sucks to be my staff. They develop nice slides and speeches for me that look like this, and then I throw this away, and I do notes and stuff like that. So what that's going to look like to you is it might not be the smoothest delivery, but it'll come from the heart, I promise. I had a treat in the lineup heading into the theater here of meeting all the individuals, so it's really cool. I know that we're getting wings today, and I know that we're tracking after this, which is a lot different than the way I went through pilot training. But it's certainly really cool to hear that hear the dreams of the jets you want to fly, the teams you want to join. It's really cool. I wanted to double down on my thanks to the IPs and the FAPEs. You know, and you'll hear in my remarks a little bit later. You know, I can name by first name the crowd that taught me how to fly and taught me to love flying. So, what you guys do for the nation and for our Air Force is just of tremendous sacred value. And I think we owe you another round of applause for the duty that you do each and every day. Thank you very much. Certainly to the family members here who probably heard a dream about flying a decade ago, if not longer, and then here you are, you know, on the pedestal of the awarding of wings, to watch that from initial thought to actual dream completion is a pretty cool thing. But to our family members, you know, anyone in uniform gets a fit rep once a year, gets an award every time they PCS. Every time you're up for a promotion, you get another thing that says how awesome you are. But what we rarely get to do is tell our family members how critical and important you are to the mission as well. We could not do it without you. You're the reason we do it, and we owe all of our family members a round of applause for your role. Thank you very much. All right, so you guys were very brave. I was walking around this morning, and I saw the billboard had my big ugly mug on it, and somehow you still came on base despite that. So I would have expected that you would have turned around, but it makes my tummy hurt every time I see a picture of me. But it's my first time on a UPT base since I graduated UPT. Isn't that crazy? It's a treat to be back here, to see the wonderful pattern filled with airplanes and jets, and then to just be around people that do nothing but love aviation and get after it. It's really, really cool for me. I do not remember my guest speaker or what the heck he said, all right? So with that, let's see if I can make this work. All right. Speech over. Any questions? All right. That was a plaque hanging in my squadron when I took over command. And it goes back 3 commanders earlier than me, to one named Lieutenant Colonel Terry Johnson, who was in class 8702 and FAPed in T-38s here. That's his battle cry that he took after 9/11 into Afghanistan. First cruise into Rhino, first cruise into the scary part after the attacks, and I cannot think of a better way to sum up what it means to be a pilot. So that endured past one commander, and I inherited it for good reason. So I'm just going to leave that there in the back of your mind as we progress here. All right, I want you guys to get all your Snickers out of the way on this one too. All right, there you go. I wish I was that skinny, and I wish my hair was that awesome again. I gave the speechwriter 3 pictures, more than 3, but pictures thinking he would pick one that would symbolize kind of how far it is between that event there and the individual standing before you. But it strikes me, you know, if you're like me, your personal pronoun is pilot, all right? And that's something to be incredibly proud of. We can't let that not be the most powerful statement in our Air Force, as the title more than implies that we are about airmen, air power, and piloting. If you're like me, you had a loved one that inspired you to fly. And that loved one was my grandfather, B-26 pilot in World War II, and I begged him to tell war stories on the foot of my bed every time I was around him. And even if I had heard them 1,000 times, I wanted to hear them 1,000 more. All right? And I'm wearing the watch he gave me in April of 91 as I graduated class 9108 at Columbus Air Force Base. I am executing Plan A. If you're like me, you are too. There is no Plan B. And Plan A was only possible, as we'll talk a little bit later, about the folks in the back of the room and about my family who kept me proper to get to it. And there was a point, this might surprise you, Auburn was fun. There was a point where my dad had a counseling session with me where my feet weren't actually touching the ground for a bit. And his direct words to me were, you want to fly airplanes or you want to wash them? And then I went back and got my act together. What the speechwriter noticed in these pictures, and what I didn't, which is why he put all three of them in here, was the transition from the punk that just kind of chagrined to even have the, can't believe he's at pilot training, to the guy and the expression that's gripping that 38 and wondering, are they really going to let me fly this? To a little bit of swag at the end of training. The confidence, the wings, the proficiency, the love, and certainly the cool hair. It gets better. Jay said this perfectly. Your address book for your professional life is where you went to pilot training and what your class was. I don't condone the stuff in the bottom, but that part was fun too. Maybe I do condone it. Every time you get asked that question, you're getting a bro check or a sis check on your credibility, on where you came from, who taught you, and who you went through with. And as we all know in pilot training, and Jay had this perfect too, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Still, the most raw thing I've ever done. The most vulnerable, the most scared, the hardest, the toughest, most fun, amazing event that ever happened. And every time you say 2214 from Vance, everybody is grading you against that. If you're like me, the flights that you grew up in and the IPs that taught you define you as well. Even yesterday when I was at Altus, there was a young lieutenant had graduated Columbus, and I said, what flight? And I can't believe he answered it this way. He said Sabre. So I think he was just messing with me, but it was Sabre flight. But again, we were gut checking each other, and we were checking the address book and the credibility. I'm in awe of the instructors, both FAPEs and returnees, for their ability to teach us how to fly and for their ability to teach us to love flight. And I will forever be in debt to the instructors that taught me. Brian Cunning, Rob Ryan, Rich Bailey, Steve Hess, Rob Herring, Dave Roberts, Hunter Mills, Norm Diamond, Byron Mathewson, Joe Korch, Jen Rohr. All right, it's 30 years later. I wrote that like it was May of 91. That's the impact that you have on them and that they have on you. Hunter Mills gave me my dollar ride in the Tweet. Norm Diamond gave me my dollar ride in the 38. It's absolutely amazing the impact that our instructors have on us. We asked last night at dinner as we were eating steak at the steakhouse down the road, and they said, what's your favorite experience at UPT? And I thought, I don't know. I can't define the exact moment, but I remember there was a point where it clicked and I knew I had it, that I would be a pilot. And then I thought, what's the perspective from the instructors? Is it that moment when you notice, maybe before the student, that it's going to click and that they're going to have it? Is it drop night? Is it graduation day? But I'm certain there's impactful moments as they look at it from their perspective. I do remember the coolest flight I have from a FAPE, who at the time was still a second lieutenant, told you how quick he cruised through, Brian Cunning. And we were in an instrument ride in a Tweet, and we were coming down, And he said, hey, dude, put up your visor. For everyone else, you put a visor down so you can only see the instruments and not cheat. And I put up my visor and was greeted with the most amazing sunset coming down over an overcast deck. And as we were leveling off, you're just barely above the clouds and the sun's coming down. And what he was doing was giving me professional aviator etiquette well before I deserved it to teach me the love of flight. If you're like me, you're going to go to some awesome line squadrons that are eager to have you. And these are my first 3 I was lucky to fly 10 straight years. 61st Airlift Squadron at Little Rock Air Force Base, filled with Vietnam veterans late in their career that were hardcore because they learned their lessons in blood. And your value to the squadron was directly proportional to your performance in the cockpit. Oh, you guys, look at me. My value in the squadron was directly proportional to my performance in the cockpit. And if you didn't perform in the jet, you had no life in that squadron. Now, I'm not saying that's the leadership we need to mimic, but that's the leadership I grew up in, and it taught me to have my act together. It taught me the nobility of our profession. 52nd Airlift Squadron, Moody Air Force Base. I worked for a DO called Mark Fritchie, 2 inches taller than me, easily 50 pounds, and it wasn't the kind of 50 pounds I got. It's rugged 50. And he taught me the discipline of what we do. I never once got a mission brief through him, got a set of orders through him, put a package together that survived first contact, second contact, or third contact. And what I didn't understand then is he was teaching me how to put it all together and deliver mission accomplished results instead of drama getting there. And that gentleman taught me the discipline of what we do. And then the 37th Airlift Squadron at Ramstein Air Base, Germany. I worked for a commander named Doug Krulin, who taught me the command of what we do, how the pieces work together. Your wing commander just described that wonderfully in the introductions. How it takes everybody fly fix support to make the mission happen. And how we appreciate the efforts of the collective and turn it into magic in the air. It was an incredible way. So if you're like me, you're going to have that experience too. We'll go back to basics. The first patch I wore, saber flight. Or according to that kid yesterday, sabre flight. I didn't understand it then, but I cued in yesterday on the bottom here to train to fight. Okay? To train to fight. I don't remember his first name. The squadron commander's last name was Shaw. Lieutenant Colonel Shaw was a light gray Eagle driver. And on Fridays, he'd pull his scarf out and wear it like a preacher wears it. Big cigar, coffee cup full of something brown, and I guarantee it wasn't coffee. And he'd say things like, you need to navigate by where the sun is. You need to know the altitude by how big the trees are. You need to know how fast you're going by how the wind sounds over the canopy. How cool is that? That's the love of flight. High standards, not good for scientists, good for a fighter pilot back in the day. And this was back when Desert Storm was kicking up. You can imagine how happy the IPs would be to teaching me instead of out there schwacking. But it was serious business. And we all thought we'd miss the fun. That's the way we looked at it. But what we didn't know is it was going to turn into Somalia, Haiti, Kosovo, Bosnia. Stop me when you heard enough. Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, Ukraine, and who knows what else. So if you're like me, you're about to join units and teams and crews that make hard things look incredibly easy, yet they're not. And you're going to deliver lethality and hope, sometimes in the same day. Here's an example, just over a year old, of a team and crews that got after one runway, 17 days, 124,000, and you all know about the 13 angels we brought home. Stand up, Voodoo, please. And that's her holding that baby. Aircraft commanding that jet 4 times into Kabul. Everybody in this row, look at me. That's what you're joining. That's hero action. That's also a Vance FAPE. What class? 2013? 1305. We owe her a round of applause. Thank you, Voodoo. It's back. Maybe. Nope, there's one missing. Let's see. All right, just remember the suck sign. Remember that one? All right, that's what's up. I still chair fly. If you're like me, you will too. I still show up ready. I still make sure my professional obligations in the cockpit are sacred and never broken. I make sure I generate courage when needed, aim the pointy end of the scary part of the world, and execute. If you're like me, you're going to act like your life depends on it and America's freedom depends on it. Because it does. Which brings me to you. I don't think you'll ever fly the perfect sortie. I never have. I've come very close. Flying is always physically and mentally challenging. Always. Every single time, and it's wonderful that way. If you're like me, you're eventually going to go to jet where the separation of man and woman and machine evaporates, and you just become one with the machine. I promise it'll happen. And if you're in a crew airplane, you'll be in crews where the individual crew members disintegrate, and it's just one thing, and you do things based on trust without ever talking. And if you're lucky enough to be in squadrons that fly formations, the same thing will happen across the formation, where you'll just know through rehearsal and trust and contracts that two's going to be there and the magic will happen. If you're like me, it will happen for big missions on big important packages. If you're like me, it will also happen in your squadrons. And if you're like me, you will see the beauty of America and Americans on the Fly, Fight, and Win mission. If you're like me, you probably want this speech to be over with. We're going to get on with the ceremony here, and we're going to thank the IPs and the FAPEs and the family members. The ones that got you here and the ones that will get you there. We're going to break a set of wings. My mom has my other half. And we're going to pin a set of wings. We're going to celebrate shortly, but then we're going to know we're going to come back to work and fix on the track and get after it. But above all that, I'm going to leave here honored and extremely confident that the pilots that I'm looking for me right now are better than me. We good? All right, let's go. Thank you.
We will now recognize those individuals who excelled in one or more phases of training. The new pilots competed for academic, leadership, and flying training awards, as well as the top wingman, distinguished graduate, and the coveted AETC Commander's Trophy. Each phase of training was carefully weighed, and only a slight margin separated the top performance. Colonel Speakman will now present the Academic Excellence Award to the pilot whose overall academic test averages exceeded those of their peers. The recipient of the academic award is Second Lieutenant Jordan M. Burley.
Colonel Miller will now present the Leadership Awards. The Leadership Awards are presented to the officers who demonstrated outstanding leadership qualities and potential throughout this most rigorous and demanding military training program. The first recipient of the Leadership Award is First Lieutenant Austin J. Dewing. The second recipient of the Leadership Award is Second Lieutenant Coleman S. Knight.
Hey, you all, come on up and take all the pictures that you want, right? I don't have a picture from this day, and I regret that, right? So please come forward and take pictures. We'll keep them up here as long as you want us to.
My parents didn't have that opportunity for awards, so please.
And now Colonel Pauls will present the Flying Training Award. The Flying Training Award is presented to the pilot whose daily flying performance and check ride scores exceeded those of their peers. The recipient of the Flying Training Award is Second Lieutenant Nathaniel R. Feldman.
Colonel Johnson will now present the Top Wingman Awards. Selected by their peers, the Top Wingman Award is presented to the graduates who epitomize the support and teamwork critical to being a great wingman. The first recipient of the Top Wingman Award is Second Lieutenant Eric M. Stabacher. The second recipient of the Top Wingman Award is Second Lieutenant George R. Beckwith.
Colonel Johnson will now present the Distinguished Graduate Awards. To be selected for this honor, a student must maintain an exceptionally high average in all phases of training and finish in the top 10% of the class. The first recipient of the Distinguished Graduate Award is Second Lieutenant Jordan M. Burley. The second recipient of the Distinguished Graduate Award is Second Lieutenant Nathaniel R. Feldman. The third recipient of the Distinguished Graduate Award is Second Lieutenant Kyle W. Tubbs.
Finally, the most prestigious trophy that Air Education and Training Command presents to a pilot training graduate is the AATC Commander's Trophy. This pilot excelled in flying and academics and demonstrated the initiative and leadership qualities essential to the professional Air Force officer. Additionally, they personified the tenets of the Order of the Dedalians, a group dedicated to military aviation, personal integrity, and patriotism. General Minahan will present this special award reserved for the officer who attained the highest overall rating throughout the program. The winner of the AATC Commander's Trophy is Second Lieutenant Nathaniel R. Feldman.
And now, the time that we have all been waiting for. Colonel Johnson will formally present the diplomas and pilot wings to our graduates. As they exit the stage, they will receive a commemorative coin with their unique graduation number from the commander, 71st Student Squadron, Lieutenant Colonel Dan Hughes. The new pilots' families and friends are invited to pin on the Air Force wings following the graduation ceremony.
Having completed the required course of training, the following officers from Class 2214 are awarded the aeronautical rating of Air Force Pilot. Major Mason Craddock.
Captain Taylor Brames.
Captain Paul Howell.
First Lieutenant Austin Dewing.
First Lieutenant Micaiah Gorman.
First Lieutenant Trey Tollefson.
Second Lieutenant Wilbert Almanzar.
Second Lieutenant Logan Ash.
Second Lieutenant George Beckwith.
Second Lieutenant Jordan Burley.
Second Lieutenant Michael Berry.
Second Lieutenant Keenan Bracken.
Second Lieutenant David Chacon.
Second Lieutenant Jonathan Chavalino.
Second Lieutenant Daniel Coolbo.
Second Lieutenant Nathaniel Feldman.
Second Lieutenant Jeffrey Johnson.
Second Lieutenant Coleman Knight.
Second Lieutenant Chad Kowski.
Second Lieutenant Nicholas Migliori.
Second Lieutenant Griffin Path.
Second Lieutenant Jeffrey Rattray.
Second Lieutenant Joshua Shetter.
Second Lieutenant Jordan Smalley.
Second Lieutenant Eric Stockbauer.
Second Lieutenant Alexander Thomas.
Second Lieutenant Kyle Tubbs.
trained Air Force aviators.